Well, good afternoon to everybody. Been very busy this morning. I'll take you over and show you what it is I've been doing. One of those jobs that was sort of put on the long finger for quite some time. And I decided this morning, after I'd contacted my children, make sure everything was okay, everything was well as can be, I decided just to step out with my coffee and get cracking. So that's what I've done. The wheelbarrow's over here at the moment. So I've been moving all the stuff that was here, you see, because the rhubarb's coming up. So I've been moving all the stuff that I dumped on there. I think it was before Yule, and decided to move that, or start moving it, over to a new compost heap that I have got started just here beside the old one. So you can see I've got a few baskets in there at the bottom, just everything that will biograde down. So then I decided to clear this path here, which had become very overgrown. So I've cut back all the spirea, and I've given the black currants a little prune, and the raspberries, and the hebes, and the fuchsia, and the willow. So because I planted this little hedge, it was just all little cuttings that I put in. So I'll just take you to the top of it. This used to be a very wet, boggy path, but over the years I've been adding lots and lots of chop and drop to it. So it's built it up and provided the basis of a pretty good pathway. So you can see this is the other door of the tunnel. Now, this clears the way for me washing the tunnel, which would be the next big job that I'll be getting stuck into. Nice little view of the tunnel from the little miniature woodland garden up here at the top, with the grapevine hanging over it. So I'm just up here by the stone circle. I can hear a little wood pigeon in the background. Now there's a fair few bits of ash which has fallen off the tree during storms, so I'm going to be picking this up and bringing it into the barn. The sweet chestnut tree over there is doing really well. Actually, all the trees. There's a sycamore there, and that little one there is a plum tree. And you can see now over towards the cottage. Let's go over and have a look at the ribes there. I'm just walking along on the other side of the ditch. I've got the wild edge, which is part of the permaculture design, on one side, and the woodland gardens then on the other side of the ditch. Just looking back now into the stone circle, and you can see where I was clearing all the silt out of the ditch, and I've banked it up all the way along by the plants, because this is a wonderful source of nutrition and fertility for the plants. I wanted to show you this ribes, which is quite an old one, and you can see it's a lovely fan shape. But look at the amount of flowers up there. Let's just go around the other side here. Isn't that beautiful? Now yesterday I saw two beautiful big, they were massive. They were queen bees, and not the human farmed bees, but of course the wild bees, because all the bees here at Bealtaine Cottage are wild bees. And it's only the females that endure the hibernation and that emerge from hibernation at this time of year. And of course, they have about 40 minutes worth of food in their stomachs, and so within 40 minutes they have to get a good shot of nectar in order to survive, in order to begin that life again. And they have already got all the eggs that will create the colony for this year already fertilised inside their bellies. So it's essential that we plant for the bees. Absolutely essential. When I planted this Mahonia here, I think it was only at the beginning of last year, and already it's begun to bush out, and you can see the new growth on this side, on the south side of it. Mahonia is a beautiful woodland plant. It does very well in a setting like this. It does need a little bit of light, but obviously planted on the edge of a woodland, and it'll get the light it needs. And of course you've got those all-important flowers which come out around December, January, February, an essential time for bees that can emerge early from hibernation, and that will be a lifesaver. This is a beautiful fast growing tree, which of course is the Tila cordata, the lime tree, and the wood isn't much good now for burning. It's quite good for kindling. It's very soft. It's a very soft wood, but it does dry quickly. But it grows so fast. So it will give you that lovely woodland shade cover, whilst slower growing trees like this green beech behind the old hen house take off. Actually beautiful trees. I've planted a fair few lime trees just along here. You see? Shrubs that I would highly recommend for a woodland here in Ireland or in the UK. It's a fast growing box. I think it's actually a member of the honeysuckle family, but it's classified as a box. It's very fast growing. It grows from cuttings. I have never purchased one of these shrubs. All that you see in here, in the woodland gardens, all grown from cuttings, and I'm continually just popping cuttings into the earth. The reason why I consider it so important is because it serves as a wonderful habitat for birds. And also, it gives a wonderful wind-proof barrier. So where you have young trees trying to get established, I would always advise to plant shrubs along your boundary, somewhere near those young trees. So you're not, because you can't stop the wind, but you can filter it, from, say, 50 or 60 miles an hour down to about 5 miles an hour. You can imagine the wind hitting the other side of this. By the time it comes through here, it's negligible. Very important. For young trees to get established, very important for birds. A great nesting place, and for mammals as well. Now this is something that I have done from year one of the Bealtaine project, and that is chop and drop. And what it does, by chopping fresh wood, willow, etc., which this constitutes here, it fast forwards the earth into a woodland setting. Because where you have wood rotting down, That is the natural system within a woodland. But we as humans, as caretakers of the land, can create in a natural, sustainable, regenerative way a woodland floor by using the chop and drop techniques. And you can see how successful this is, because within this little pile, which in the beginning serves as a habitat pile for insects and small creatures, as it rots down, it provides a wonderful source of food for whatever is growing from it. In this case, this is a green beech. And I did the same over there with the hawthorn. I did the same there with the sycamore, and so on. And you end up in a situation where it's completely unimportant what the fertility or the state of the land was to begin with. In this case, for those of you who have read the book A Cottage and 3 Acres, or been on the website and made full use of all the information on there, this land was marginal land, classified as marginal land, and poor land, boggy land, north facing. Well, it's very hard to believe any of those statements now, looking at what is growing here. And remember, nothing was imported here in terms of chemical fertilizers or animal products. Okay. Another very good piece of advice for anyone starting any kind of a large garden or permaculture small holding or woodland garden: you can't have enough compost heaps. Now, a compost heap might be a very slow acting one, like this. This is virtually all wood in various shapes and sizes that's been cut and put on here. And there's also been buckets of compost from the kitchen emptied onto here, and you can see that with bits of celery that's growing there and the hollowed out cabbage. Again, you're looking at increasing the fertility at a very fast rate, and you're also looking at providing habitat for all those living sentient beings that you want to encourage into and onto the land. Okay, so this is a beautiful elder tree, elderflower, elderberry, that has grown from this compost heap, and one of the biggest and widest spreading ones I have ever had the benefit of having growing. So, testament to the fertility below it, I'd say. And also, of course, the protection that's offered within the barrier of what is various trees and Lelandiae. So here you can see what was just what I used to call the side garden, and it's a very small patch that was originally grass and plants. And there is a photograph, I have shown it over social media, and it is on one of the previous videos, showing my mother, Goddess bless her, stood here. I think it was just up here somewhere, just by the corner of the barn, at the very beginning of the Bealtaine project, because I took the project through various transitions. So in the early days, when there was lots and lots of light here before the trees grew, I grew lots of flowers and lots of vegetables. So it went through several transitions before it became this beautiful woodland. But you can see in this little corner garden what is a miniature woodland, and it's a lovely template for creating a woodland in your own garden. So this is a box that's been allowed to grow into this massive shrub. There's a spindle growing here which colours beautifully in autumn. There's flowering currant or ribes. There's some little sycamore trees which I've kept sort of cut a little bit. There is the cultivated version of St John's wort, again which I've allowed to grow into quite a big shrub. There are 3 beautiful little birch trees which I've planted, you can see, close together. They quite like that. They will thrive within that setting. There's various other shrubs, so there's some black currant in here and some fuchsia, and of course you know what this is, don't you? Because we've been looking at it in the gardens everywhere, and this is a forsythia. And then here is this little kind of bonsai'd Scots pine. And you can see now what was lawn is now leaves, and this beautiful leaf mould which is building up. There's some geranium in there. Look, there's some more of that beautiful Lonicera box which I just stuck a little bit in, and it just grows. And you can see geranium in here. You can see a little woodland bench that I put in there initially, and there's a self-seeded cotoneaster now is growing from here. And there's a beautiful old buddleia, that's the white buddleia. This magnificent green beech now, which is absolutely gorgeous, one of my favourite trees here. Lots of sedge growing down there, which is a woodland plant. Lots of crocosmia and montbretia growing down there, some daffodils, some laurel, which I keep fairly well cut back. And a nice kind of wind barrier of bamboo, which I think about 2 years ago I cut this back to ground level, and it's all just got going again. So it's very easy to create in a very small space a woodland garden. I'll leave you with this lovely shot of the white quince, which is beginning to open up. It's kind of stopped and stuttered a few times coming into bloom, but now it's finally coming into bloom. And you can see how I planted it here on the gravel. I put 3 logs together, which as they break down feeds the plant. I put some crocosmia corms in there just so it's a nice dash of lime green at this time of the year, and planted it in a very shallow setting into the gravel. But you can see how well it looks against the backdrop of the barn. So, on that note, I want to say blessings to you all. Have a lovely day, and seriously give some consideration turning your lawn into a little miniature woodland. It will give you such delight, and it will be a little portal from Mother Earth and all her life. Blessings to you all.